Alright, let's go. So, this is the weekly for May 27th through April 2nd. Uh, Welcome to the video. I am Miss Brittany. So, what we have here this week is a beautiful situation, okay? Um, if you do not take the moments and the time to recognize what is going on, you may miss what is unfolding in front of you, okay? And that might be quite easy because, you know, um, carrying on, hey, let's see, Tata 1111. But so there may be intensity, whether it's due to events or relationships. Um, Most likely that intensity is negative. Um, if you are dealing with something, you have to realize that your words are not going to be enough to deal with what's going on. I'm going to kind of backtrack and piggyback on a video that I posted earlier, which explained my recent absence, okay? This is manifesting itself for me in the fact that I was recently assaulted by someone I consider family, or at least I did, and I really began to take an active note of a lot of narcissism that plays itself out within my family. And on the surface, it was easy for me to just look at the assault and the narcissism and believe and talk about how much of a victim I can and rightfully consider myself in this moment. But just talking about it isn't enough. For years, I've dealt with a lot of the stuff that has been culminating recently, and for the last few years, I've done nothing but talk, okay? I have to, at this point, take action. So what I've decided to do in regards to the intensity that is playing out in my life is, rather than just talk about it with friends or with you or just with anybody, I've decided to remove people from my life as well as limit contact with people and situations and places, because flat out talking hasn't worked for years. So that's as much as I'm going to interject myself in this moment. But whatever that means for you in your life, whether events are going on, and they just seem really intense, or whether it's relationships with family or friends that are really intense. And again, I'm mainly discussing things that are happening that are impacting you negatively. You have to realize that talking is not going to be enough, okay? Um, when you look at not just the intensity, but in general what's going on with you, you may realize that you're facing a new path, you're facing decisions, and quite frankly, you might be not necessarily discouraged. You're happy for the change, you're happy for what is presenting itself as a new opportunity. You just may be fearful of taking that new path alone, but you have to realize this path is the journey to your twin, okay? Even if you don't see it. Again, I can only talk to you about my experience. Looking at my experience with the assault and the narcissism. The assault has manifested itself in various aspects of my life well before this actual incident, because I was prone to deal with people who would hurt me mentally and physically. As far as the narcissism, I attracted or dealt with people who demonstrated narcissistic behavior, which made me, on some levels, codependent. And in realizing that, I realized that if I want to get back to my twin, I have to deal with my codependency. I have to deal with and take responsibility for the fact that I didn't give people permission to abuse me mentally or physically, but I dealt with the behavior. I just talked about it. On some instances, I didn't even talk about it. And so you have to do that within yourself. Okay, whatever the situation is for you, look at it and explore. And could it be karmic interference or karmic energies? Um, you know, can you clarify what you mean by that, Tata? Because I know we did deal with karmic interference not too long ago, but that was mainly just in terms of, if I can understand kind of what you're asking here, Tata, the karmic interference would be the lack of understanding of what's going on. That's not what's going on here. We clearly see the path laid out before us. But it just clarifies, I'm not quite sure what you were asking here, Tata. But so just um, don't feel scared about branching out. Don't feel scared, especially if you're looking at the fact that it seems you might be in a position where you have to embark on this new journey alone, because it's going to take you where you need to go. When you look at your current connection, I also just put up a video about the fact that connection is happening. You have a lot of connection in 5D, and some of you may or may not be aware of connection in 3D. In the 3D, some of you are actually talking to your twin, but then also some of you may have had a random stranger text you or email you or contact you on social media. Happens with other people, just like experience that you just had. I don't think that that's karmic interference, unless it's actually the karmic that is doing it. But I don't think that is what's going on. I don't know if you saw a video that I put out talking about how not only was there karmic interference, but the karmic is actually aware of you, even if they're not actually aware of you. They feel the difference in the energy. The karmic is kind of scaled back at this point. So to answer that, I don't feel that it would be. But going back to this current state of connection, if whether or not you are aware of actually being connected in the 3D, I don't want you to be over emotional, okay? I want you to take a look at not what's being said, but what is being done in your connection. It's a little bit more difficult if you're only dealing with a 5D connection. But if you, let's say your twin has come back and they've been talking to you, they may not to this point have told you what you want to hear. They may not have come back with some grandiose, professions of love. But look at the fact that they may be doing things that they didn't do before, okay? If you are dealing with a situation where, again, this seemingly random stranger has come into your life, their actions may be different than what you dealt with before with your twin. Again, this isn't saying that you certainly know that it's them, but the actions are different where In the event that it is them, you should be able to give them credit for something different than before, okay? Um, I can't really address that too much because it's different for different people. Some people only are having that 3D connection, some people are having 3 and 5, some people are just having 5. Um, but look at what's being done. That's actually a common thing you should be doing in life, anyways. Not looking at what people are saying, but what they're actually doing. But whatever the case, you do have to prepare. Let's see, ta-ta. Well, my twin recognizes the connection with me and who's who. Your update comment imagery seems to like. Not everything is what it seems. Uh, Sometimes people choose karmics for different reasons. Maybe it's perceived as easier, not because they are less of a hassle as a person, but maybe it's a situation where the karmic, um, they don't have to do any work. With your twin is your mirror, and they show you things that need to be worked on for you to be your best and your highest self. So if you, when you look at the situation, Tata, and you say, okay, they're with this karmic and everything. Trust me, I know it's heartbreaking. I've been going through this. Essentially, I met my twin in 2007. I've been no contact now for about a year, and it's difficult. It really is. Um, yeah. But you have to recognize that not everything is what it seems. And I do have to point out, Tata, at a certain point, if you have enough time to observe what's going on with them, you have to recognize that that's time you're not working on yourself. Not saying that you shouldn't be making observations, but there are differences between making observations, Tata, and actually saying, you know what? Yes, that may seem like, that's a great situation over there, but I have to work on, to say is the case with myself, I've got to work on my codependency. I've got to work on the fact that I allow people to do things to me. Um, Once you get to that point, you should be in a position where, not saying it won't hurt, but it won't bother you as much. Okay? Um, But whatever the case, you have to prepare yourself to go to the distance because what's going on, I did, if you look at most of my recent videos, well, they're not so recent at this point, I talked about change. May was certainly a month of change, um, but the month isn't over, and change is still occurring. And you have to prepare yourself because if you fail to recognize what's going on, if you fail to recognize the growth that's within you, that's not saying you're going to miss your opportunity. You may end up delaying the opportunity. Because at this point, especially for feminines who are dealing with those in a masculine energy, the masculine knows who you are. They've made a decision, and it's just a matter of them getting over their own mess to get to you. Keep in mind, like I said, we're mirrors. So while you're busy working on yourself and clearing your own mess to get on that path to get to them, they're doing the exact same thing. So let that serve as inspiration, not having it be the only reason you're cleaning up your internal mess, but let that serve as inspiration for you to continue to do what you need to do to get on the path to union. Okay. Um, if you're dealing with things, especially like I said, right now we're dealing with a lot of things like with intensity, whether it be relationships or events. If you're dealing with things that literally serve no purpose and don't aid in your progress, at this point, don't deal with it. You need to conserve your energy and your resources um, for things that will push you towards progress. Because literally, as I've said so many times before, we are on the precipice of, for many people, union. Like, seriously, even if in this moment you don't see it, even if you don't feel like it, again, not to have you over evaluate, but if you are in a situation where um, you think that you're not in contact with your twin, I ask you to heavily and seriously reevaluate that. Ask yourself, have I gotten an email from a random person? Have I had a friendship request from a random person, or a message, or have I gotten a text message? Because most likely it is them um, trying to essentially weasel their way back in. So I don't want to make this video too much longer about this week, but I'll close with this. Regardless of where you're at with the connection, whether you are people who are aware of a 3D connection or just 5D, or if you're not really sure, I don't want you to focus too much on what's going on, and I don't want you to focus on planning. Because if you do, you're going to miss what is happening right in front of you. What may be happening is revelation. What's definitely happening is personal growth. Um, Again, using myself as an example, I could get so caught up when I look at the physical assault that I just went through, as well as the narcissism that I am uncoding. I could get so caught up in that, um, or so caught up in recognizing, because what's going on my end, I have a person who just, I'm very certain it's my twin, okay? I could get so caught up in my old patterns of trying to plan, oh, well, when he does this, I'm going to do this, or kind of daydreaming, that I don't look at everything that I just went through in terms of the assault and the narcissism, and decode what that means about me, and take what I should learn from that situation. And if I fail to do that, I will fail to be on the path that I need to be back to union. So this week, take that bit of advice. There's really not much else that I have for you. Stay grounded, stay present. Maybe for you, being grounded means being in nature more. Um, Whatever it is, whatever you have to do to stay grounded and to stay present, do it. My weakness is planning things out to a T months in advance. I am making sure to keep my calendar, with the exception of things, work related, away from me. Otherwise, I will plan everything out down to a honeymoon and and the names of children. So be well, guys. And when it comes to this week, stay present, stay grounded, and you should make it through unscathed.